Welcome back. At the end of the last episode, we completed this here tree farm. And we talked about how we wanted to get the logs out of this vault behind me, all the way over to our storage, which is in another island, way over this way somewhere. And in the episode before that, we fully automated our underground rail system. You can call it a metro or a subway or whatever. I'm from London, so I'm going to call it a tube. So today we want to combine those things together, grabbing the stuff from the industrial area above my head, many blocks up there, bringing them down here, loading them onto the trains, taking them all the way to the other end, and then taking them from the station at the other end up into our storage. And at the same time, we want to make our trains and our platforms a bit longer, and make some of our farms and machines around this area a little bit smarter, so they're not producing things when we don't need them anymore. But first, I want to thank you for all your name suggestions for this fella here. I'm sorry we didn't name him in the last episode. If you were thinking that's because something had happened to him, no, he's absolutely fine, there he is. But he does need a name, so let's have a look at some of the contenders. I really like this suggestion from Lawful Media based on this here cartoon.
Oh, Belvedere, come here, boy.
But the winner from Crafty Stevo is Derby. That's going to be your new name, Derby. What do you think? Do you like it? We'll call that a yes. So back here at the starter island in our storage, I do actually have a name tag. There we go. So let's go and call Derby and give him his new name. Oh, I better actually name the name tag, hadn't I? So just grab one of those, pop it down there. There he is. Derby. Let's get down to business then, and that means literally going down. Now the train that we've got I actually made right here at this station, and as you can see there's not really a lot of room for manoeuvre around the train, so I want to make a separate place where we can do maintenance on our trains and just kind of make new ones, make them longer, all of that kind of thing. And that means we need somewhere with a lot more space. But we're deep underground, so taking these up to the surface isn't really an option, but that's okay because I've got a plan. And that plan involves doing something you should never do. That's pop off the platform and run along the live rails. Don't try that at home. So just a little bit along from the station, which is over behind me, you can see obviously we've got the main rail going along here. We've actually got another tunnel that I built along here. Dug, I should say. You dig tunnels, not build them, don't you? So this was originally going to be my main railway tunnel, and as you can see it goes up a few blocks, and the idea was it was going to go up towards the surface as we reached the industrial area at the other end. So the whole thing was going to be on a slope, but I decided to abandon that idea and go for the flat tunnel behind me instead. But it does mean we've got all this space to play with, and this would be pretty much perfect for our train building depot place thing. It probably needs a little bit more mining out, and there's only one problem with that, and that's above my head here there is a massive mine shaft full of cave spider spawners and all of that stuff, so we need to be a little bit careful if we're digging up, but for the most part I think we're going to be digging along and sideways just to give ourselves plenty of space to build our trains. Right, there's a cave spider spawner, but there's also something else through there. I've no idea what that is. I don't think I really want to find out. Now I could actually do with a decent source of string, because from there I can get wool, and that means we can make filters and all kinds of other things. So I am actually going to make use of that cave spider spawner and make a bit of a farm with it. Now I don't need the experience from the spiders because we've got this zombie farm for that. So that means that we can use drop damage to kill our spiders, and that makes the farm nice and easy. The question of course is, where should I build it? So I'm going to put the spider farm here inside this square that I've marked out, and because we're using drop damage but we do want to be able to activate the spawner without having to climb up to it, I'm going to set it so that actually some of that drop damage will go down below the sea level here. So we're going to mine out and dry out the area below me so that the spiders will drop from up here somewhere all the way down, and then we'll be able to pick up the drops. So I've dug my shaft down and lined it with these bricks. As you can see, we're about 11 blocks down here, so we need to go up a little bit further. A cave spider has 6 hearts of health, and they will lose half a heart for each block of falling that they will do below the 3rd block that they spawn from. So wherever they spawn, they can fall 3 blocks, and then they take half a block of damage beyond that. Basically, we need to make sure they are spawning up 5 or so blocks above the top of this, which should be fine. But obviously we want to collect the items, so that's what I'm going to work on, and that's why I am holding this shaft. Now let's pop some of these in and on here. So the idea is that the spiders will fall onto these belts and they will die from the drop damage instantly and just turn into their drops basically. So then we just need to take their drops away. I don't know why I'm doing them all from that end. The belts are going to go in that direction, but that doesn't mean I can't place them from the other end. And yeah, we're just going to collect these things up and get them up to the surface. So then we're going to pop another belt in on the end here. Pop that in there. That's it. That's going to go in this direction. So basically everything will come from wherever it lands over to this corner here. Then we need to get it up that way. So the idea is we've got a fan in the bottom there, and that will blow things up the chute. So they should come off this conveyor and pop down on top of the fan, and that will blow them up the chute, and then we'll get them into some storage up there. Now obviously we need to power that fan and we need to power these belts, so that's the next thing to do. Okay, so that's all working down there now. We just need to go and get the actual spawner. I wonder if that weird ghosty thing's still down there. No, it looks like we're in the clear. That's good news. Oh, hello slime. Right, so we need to get down underneath the spawner there. Actually, wow, that's right above the train tracks. Who knew? Track, assembler, minecart. I'm getting it in the right order now. Power that. Comes the train. And then we should be able to pick it up. Yes, job done. So now up here we just want to do more or less the same thing in reverse. So let's get the track down and the cart assembler. We'll pop the contraption down there, which should just be our spawner. That's the one. It's got the torch on it too. Okay, so I've built up the sides just to make sure it is flat on the inside. Obviously that also means it's flush on the outside at the moment, which looks a little bit weird, and we can add a bit more sort of shape to it on the outside, but the main thing is to make sure it works internally first. So I'm just going to block this up with the cherry planks here, and then we'll go and switch it on and remove that torch. In fact, we could probably do that now. We should be fairly safe. Make sure the thing's working, and then we'll have a think about trying to make the roof look good. Well, it seems to be working. We're getting some spiders spawning. They're falling down to their deaths. I'm getting a little bit of string in here, and popping into free cam just to see inside the farm to make sure everything's okay. Things seem to be working pretty well. There is a tiny bit of light down in that corner where the water wheel and that, well, where the end of the belt is, but that's not affecting the rates for the spawning up here. So we should be right to leave it. There we go, there's some spiders. So now the challenge is to make this building look half reasonable. So let's see what we can do. There we are, that is our spider farm, all 100% done. And with that distraction out of the way, it's time to return back down here to my underground train shed. So we've got a few more blocks to clear above my head there, and a lot of tidying up to do. So let's get on. So what I'd like to do with this area is make it an arched roof, and I'd like to slab the floor. So basically I've done essentially a tile of that behind me. You can just about make it out in the deep slate tiles there. And I figure instead of trying to place all of those blocks myself, why don't I try using this schematic cannon for it? First I've got to find the thing because it's not in my storage. And of course it's where we left it, over here. There we go. So I've got myself a schematic and quill, and that's the thing I need to create the schematic. Well, it certainly works, but to be honest, I think it'll be quicker to place the blocks myself. And with that all done, it's nearly time to get the train rails in here, but first I want to sort out the lighting. We don't need lighting because the entire floor is slabbed, but, well, we need it to be able to see, don't we? And what I think I want is some lights that are hanging from the ceiling instead of these torches along the sides here. For the fancy lights, we need a tinkering table, which I just happen to have just crafted one here. And for that we grab some lanterns and chuck them in here, and then we've got a whole load of options. It's quite hard to see what they look like, and we're done. And it's a bit dark and dingy, but that's okay. Over behind me, as you can see, it's not entirely spawn-proof over there. And I've been struggling to work out exactly where those spawning spots are. Bye, creeper. But fortunately Create gives us an easy way to find out where those spawning spots are without the need for any additional mods or overlays. And that's what I'm going to do now. So I need to get myself a brass sheet and a block of brass. So 9 bits of brass like that. Chuck them into a block. And that means that I can make a peculiar bell. Other way around. That's it. Then with this peculiar bell, I need to haunt it. I put a fan down here. And let's put a fire there. And chuck a depot down here. Actually, I don't even need to lower the block. Just put that back. Put the depot there. And put my bell on top of it. That's not my bell. Here's my bell. I've got a crank handle here, and we're just gonna turn this bell into a haunted bell. Like that. There we go. And the job's done. So now by holding the haunted bell, I can see those particles there, and in fact if I put it down somewhere like that, what a noise. We should see those particles again, and that should tell us where those spawning spots are. Yeah, there we go. Now one thing I've realised is that this is all a block, or at least half a block lower than this stuff over here. And that's not ideal, especially as actually this level I'm on now, a block lower than that main line. This is the same level as our line through the station behind me, so it actually comes up a block, and then we're thinking about making it go down a block again in order to come into here. And that seems a bit silly. So I think what I need to do is essentially lower all of this rail along here down by a block. And that could take a little while, so I'm going to try and sort some of this out, and I'll bring you back when I'm done. Okay, so this is all now nicely on the same level behind me, and as you can see I've got a rail that now comes in here, and I've brought the train in here too. The only problem is I can't reach it, so we need to do something about that. Now in the darkness behind me over here we've got a train station that I've created, and if I click on that we can see that's called Train Depot, which seems a reasonable name for this, and that means we can pop the train into assembly mode. So with the train disassembled, we can just add more bogies by placing train casings on the track, and that will create our additional carriages. So I want to go a couple of blocks out from there, so that's the end of that carriage. I want 2 blocks, and then I want my bogie about there. So inside this carriage, this is the carriage we already had, we've got cherry wood along the bottom here and barrels along the side. And I'm going to swap them out so the barrels are going all the way along the bottom of the train, and we'll do the same with our other carriages. So now my train is 3 times longer than it was before. I've made 1 or 2 other changes as well. Let me hop inside and I'll show you. So let's head to the front first of all. I've just moved these control panels, well this one I've moved it forward a bit, and I brought the other one from the rear of the train so that the one driver can go in both directions. You'll notice the driver is missing. In order to put this in, I had to remove the door that was there, and of course I had to remove the seat as well. And our friend the bat decided to fly away, so we're going to get another driver in here. That could be fun. We've got plenty of seating in here, which considering this is a single player world might seem overkill, but I did want it to look a bit like a tube train, and they are full of seats. And of course removing that door from the front of the train means that the front looks ever so slightly different, but it still looks alright to me. So now we need to glue it all together and take it for a spin to make sure it is really all sorted out. I'm just going to drive it over to the industrial area station just to see how long we need to make that platform. I've realised the very front of the train here is missing, so we'll have to sort that out. And yeah, we've got the first two carriages on. Yeah, we need to go along a bit further that way, not too far. Let's just dig that out so we can see where that door ends. And it's there. Okay, so a bit more digging out, but we're almost there. That's great. Well, it looks like I might have another volunteer driver if we can get him into the right seat. Just need to convince the bat to come and sit here. I can't put a lead on it because you can't put leads on bats. nearly there. Yes, perfect. Now in terms of getting storage interfaces onto the train, I'm going to put 4 on, 2 at the back and 2 at the front. And I'm going to replace that block there of them, so that one goes like that. And that one there. And the same on the other side. And that way, it doesn't matter which direction the train goes in, there should be a storage interface in the same place. So that should make things easier at the stations. Now, because these things can actually go through a block, I could hide them in the middle so that they're actually, you just see the blue on the outside here. But I don't really think I need to do that. The problem with doing that is that they would then have to be offset because they can't face both directions at the same time. And I quite like the idea of them being in the same place on both sides of the train. Just makes things a little bit easier. So now the challenge is going to be to get items out of the storage from the train and bring it up here and into our storage warehouse over there. And the way I'm going to try and do that is to link up the storage drawers. Hopefully we're not too far away down there from our master over there in the middle of the warehouse. We've already linked things over here to our tree farm, so let's just get down there. We can see we've got a slave down there that the tree farm is going into, and that's linked by these trims all the way over to the warehouse. So basically we need to carry on linking things down with these trims all the way down to where our trains are and link it up to here hopefully, and then that should work. So at the bottom here, our trim comes down just behind the lift shaft, and if I break through to here, we should get the very end of our railway station. There it is. So the train will come in there. We just need to work out exactly where that storage interface comes off, and then hook it up to this. So I guess we're just waiting for a train. So it lines up exactly with that redstone for the lift. Of course it does. Of course it does. Okay, so the train's in, and clearly that's the storage interface we want to interact with, and I've brought the trim over this side, so we just need to bring that down here. So if I put our drawer controller slave there, and we hook up a belt between the two things, then that should be all we need to do. So that should unload things from the train and bring them across here. And the question is, are we in range of our drawers upstairs? There's only one way to find out, and that's to chuck something on the belt. And sure enough, it doesn't go anywhere, and that suggests we are not within our range. So we're going to need to get our items up to the surface a different way, and I'm wondering if we can use the same trick we used on the string farm and use a chute with a fan at the bottom. What I don't know is how far up we'll be able to send those items. So let's have a ponder and see what it says. Here we go. So we place a fan at the bottom and our chute's at the top. So it tells us about the direction, but it doesn't tell us how far it will be able to go. So I've switched things around down here. We've got a large water wheel in so we can get the speed up to maximum. We've got our chutes there linked to a fan that is blowing away upwards, and as you can see things are pushed upwards. We've got our belt in, so everything should then go into that chute and all the way up. Well, I say all the way up, let's go and find out. So back at the top of the chute, things look promising. We can see that we've got air coming out of there, and it still says items move upwards, which is perfect. That's what we want. So all we need to do now is link that across to our storage in the same way as we did before with the trims, and hopefully that should be sufficient to get items in there. Here we are, so I'm just putting these belts onto there, and they have disappeared. Let's see where they've gone. Yep, there they are, 60 belts. Perfect. So having sorted this end out, will be our way to get the stuff off of the train and up into our storage. Now we've got to sort the other end out. We're trying to get stuff from our farms onto the train. What I want to set up is a central place to bring all the stuff together, and then we work out what from there actually gets sent down to the train, because it won't be everything all the time. Okay, so it's a little while later and I've been busy. Let me show you what I've been up to. If I pop up here into our lift or our elevator, whatever you want to call it, we've got a new level. So if I pop down to here, we've got something called storage. And if I pop in here, it's got loads of things coming into it. As you can see, we are using the storage drawers. This is our master drawer controller right here. And we're using that to pull all the items in from the various places. If I just mine behind here a little bit and go along, there we go. So you can see we've got a couple of trims coming in. So this one comes in from the iron farm, and that one over there comes in from the tree farm. Let's just put that back. So here at the tree farm, basically what I've done is under this vault, we've just put a whole load of chutes that go down and pop into our drawer storage slave thingamy, and that joins our line of trims that go across into our storage. And then I've done a similar thing here. So again, we've got a line of chutes coming down from these output chests, and over here it's a bit messy, but it's quite nice actually. I quite like the industrial look of it. Again, a bunch of chutes that come out. So basically I've changed these belts so they go into drawers so we can see what's going on here. Put those drawers empty straight into these chutes, and it all joins up into this drawer controller slave. So basically I can take whatever I want out of these drawers and I can chuck them into this barrel. And under here again is a whole bunch of chutes that go down to our station. And down here on the platform, that's the bottom of that line of chutes. They come into another storage vault there. There's those zinc ingots that you just saw me pop in. And that goes down here into a portable storage interface that links up to our train. So we've got a way of getting our stuff from these farms at the industrial area onto a train, and we've got a way of getting stuff off of the train and into our main storage at the other end. And you might think that's it, but you'd be wrong. And the reason for that is we've got portable storage interfaces at each end of the train, and the stuff is collecting into here, and then it gets collected from the other end. And what I noticed was the items in these barrels were not being emptied out when we get to the station at the other end. And I don't really know why that was, but I've managed to fix it. So here's our original portable storage interface that deals with the front of the train as it comes in. And all I've done is I've popped another portable storage interface that links to the rear of the train and this massive belt, or actually 3 belts, that joins it all up together. So when the train comes back, we should see a whole load of items coming back out of this and all the way up into our storage. Meanwhile, this belt is quite good fun just to ride along. Look at this. Whee! So that's just about it for this episode. There's nothing else to show you. Nothing else at all.